Hello, brothers and sisters. This is Deanna from LightWarriorsRising. I have great news for us, especially for the body of Christ who is looking at a timeline for November 1st and 2nd. And I have more proof to encourage the body of Christ that we actually do live in the prophetic timeline that Brother Joshua has heard from Jesus, and I would love you to show you what I found. So we looked at all the calendars that were available to us: the Gregorian, the Julian, the Enoch calendar, the Torah calendar. However, all of these are man-made calendars. All right. So we are looking at a God's prophetic clock. That's the Mazzaroth clock. And why we're answering today, I've looked into more proof to why the True Feast of Trumpets is on the Jubilee year this year. And it's pointing to November 1st and 2nd. So let me show you what I got. Okay. Here's the Mazzaroth calendar. If you don't know, so the Mazzaroth calendar is the sky clock with all the constellations lined up around Earth, and we are looking at the question of why the Feast of Trumpets has been delayed. Why are we having this delay, and we're not seeing the proof that was pointing to the 23rd and 24th Feast of Trumpets. However, this is what I found, and I wanted to make it as simple as possible, okay? In the middle, we have the Earth, where it says the Mazzaroth, so pretend that that's Earth. And around our Earth, in the sky, there are all these constellations, okay? And this is very important because as you will see, all the calendars, solar and lunar, are based on the constellations and how the Earth rotates around the constellations in a year, and how the sun and the moon point as in the background, are showing up as a new moon in the background or in the foreground of each constellation. Okay, so you see here we have, let's see where we start. So let's say when we have our first in January, we're running into Aquarius, Pisces, Sagittarius in December, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, and back to Sagittarius. Now, we know that we had differences in days, and we couldn't pinpoint exactly why, and all these dates have passed that were discovered, but they still have passed, and there was nothing really happened. The major thing that really happened, the only thing that truly happened, was the Trump's peace deal, and it's right here. On October 13, 2025. That's the only thing that really happened in the fall, since we are waiting since the 23rd, 24th of September, 2025. Now, before I go in, let me quickly say, and to give you an encouragement, I asked God, where are we in the timeline? And I heard these words, Mekets, right here, Mekets. And it means at the end. We are at the end, brothers and sisters. We are running out of time. We're out of time. Literally, we're out of time on God's clock. Then I heard the word Mashak right here, Hebrew 4900, means to draw in, and check, meaning the Hebrew 2436, meaning embrace in your bosom, in your lap. So it means basically, it means we are at the end, to be gathered or collected, to drawn in into the embrace, just like gathering the bride, gathering the Christians for the timeline to fly up. Then another word I heard last night, just to really again confirm, okay, should I come out and bring you this message? And I heard the word Rehaim, Well, Rehaim means, is the word Hebrew 7347. It means hand mill, a hand mill, okay? Well, this is very important because it's a hand mill is a symbol in the old Hebrew household, and during the times of all these years before the Industrial Revolution, literally, where a hand mill was, even my grandmother still had a hand mill in the house in the 70s, okay, in the 70s, 80s, and she would still grind her own little things, whatever she was doing, with her hand mill. And the hand mill was a staple, and it was a symbol for the power available to each of us to provide sustenance, to provide food, to provide a means of food and some sort of an income, right? People go trade whatever they're doing. They'll trade, they'll sell, a bartering trade until the Industrial Revolution. Well, now this same symbol as a hand mill, I'm asking you, what do you think it means? Is it right? What is a hand mill? What is the source of power that we rely on 100% each day? Is it your car? I don't know. You can take the bus or wherever you go, the subway. Is it, I don't know, is it your cell phone? Okay, perhaps. But we can also survive without a cell phone, because we are actually, if we lose our cell phone, we can still live. We're not going to lose our life over it, right? So I'm asking you, put in the comments, what is it that could be this hand mill as a symbol of a power source? In my opinion, the power source in today's life is that fine thread that we're all hanging by, which is the power that we have in the house, the electricity that comes to our phones, to our house, our lights, everything runs from electricity. All right. So in my opinion, that's a hand mill that we're looking at as a symbol. And this hand mill was also used in Jeremiah 25:10-11 to describe what happens at the time when the hand mill is removed. When the hand mill is removed, just like the wise virgins were having their lamp oils with them, you could say they even had a hand mill with them, because that was their power in their oil, right? In their oil that was tapped into their lamps. But with also that, they could make a fire with it, right? They could cook. So there's a lot of symbolism around this Raham. When I ask, well, how much longer, I'm getting, like everybody else, November 1st, 2nd. So Brother Joshua's testimony is still right, because we are still in the window frame on the Feast of Trumpets on a Jubilee year, celebrated on the 10th day. If you don't know, Jonathan Kahn even said, right after the peace deal that was signed by Trump in October 13th, he said 2025 is a prophetic Jubilee year. Well, here's the revelation, brothers and sisters. On a Jubilee year, we celebrate Feast of Trumpets on the 10th day. The Feast of Trumpets, as I showed you in the last video, and if you don't know, go check my videos. The Feast of Trumpets on the old calendar, the Torah calendar, was October 23rd, 24th. And I will show you more proof how this is also related, shows up in the Mazzaroth calendar. So if you count 10 days from the October 23rd, you have October 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, 1st or 2nd, depending how you count. You start counting at 23rd or 24th of October. And that is the 8th day on the Ashemini Atzeret. So right now, this week, we're in the Sukkoth. Okay, in the true Sukkoth, all right? and the 8th day would be at Hashemini Atzarat on November the 1st. Now, let me show you. So I put all the resources. All the resources are here to the side. I looked at Tom Horn's research. I looked at the Torah calendar, and all the research are explained even more. And down here at the bottom, I have the Mazzaroth, where I took this information from. Okay, the link is right there. Now let me explain to you in very simple terms. Forget all the calendars you knew. Forget everything you have learned in the last 5 months about Gregorian calendar, Julian calendar, calendar, all the calendars. It's very simple, and please feel free to cut and paste, to take snapshots, to share with everybody, because this is amazing news. So I want you to pretend, let's pretend for a moment that we are cavemen, brothers and sisters. Forget we have cell phones and we have calendars everywhere, we have printed calendars. Don't worry about any of that. Pretend we're in the year 4000 BC, okay? How would you know when? So pretend there was no civilization, no calendars, no temples, no churches, nothing. How would you know when spring comes? And how would you keep track of the months or whatever? How would you divide your year? The only thing that would be available would be the sighting of the moon. And for purposes here, just for design purposes, I put the crescent moon to show you that we're talking about the new moon, meaning, okay, if it was black right there, you couldn't be seen, that would still not be visible for the naked eye. The first crescent would be visible. So that would be the universal way to calculate or keep track of time, all right? They would use the I don't even know how you call them, but they would put a stick in the middle, and then they would look by the shadow, and they would keep track with that. And each night they would look outside and see the stars, and each month, by every new moon, the new moon would shine against the background of a different constellation. God put the stars in heaven and the luminaries for signs. This is the sign that we're using today, all right? Don't worry about man-made calendars and all this nonsense. So let's start. Okay. We know that we have to start from somewhere, all right? All of the ancient cultures used springtime as a beginning. In the northern hemisphere, they used the springtime as a first month. All right, the nature is blossoming, all the babies are being born, birds are chirping. All right, that was a spring back to life, like God coming back to life and bringing bounty back to earth and loving his people. So let's pretend the first of month is Aries. Okay, so we put and we're looking at it clockwise, although if you look up to the skies, they would go counterclockwise, I think. I'm not sure. But if you look in stellarium, so the Mazzaroth is based on the stellarium that we have now as a software, and we can determine by minute and second, at what time the new moon shows up, okay? But this is a science, so to speak, a knowledge that was available to the most ancient people. Even if you lived in a cave, you'd still have access to this knowledge, all right? We need something that's universal. If we are looking at a prophetic timeline, we need to look at something that's universally available for everybody, because we don't look at one culture, we don't just look at one country, we're looking at a prophetic timeline for the entire earth. That's something that's coming, right? It all points to a specific point in time for the entire earth. Well, after Aries, so let's say that's number one, month one, then it's Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, it keeps going. And we can count, right? Aries is 1, Taurus 2nd, Gemini 3rd. Let me see what else I have written here. Very important. So all the way to Libra, right? So you have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, back to Pisces, and back to number 1. The new year would start. All of these constellations would go around. Here is where now the problem, and let me just see if yep, here is where the issues begin. Because when you look from Earth, the new moon each year, it doesn't come up right on Aries, on the constellation Aries. There are a lot of factors that are right from the Earth's rotation, from even newer developments, Earth tilting and close to a pole shift, and all this adding into the factors that the new moon does not always come right on Aries. Sometimes it comes into Pisces, sometimes it comes into Aries, but there is nobody really knows how this works, when it's in Pisces, when it's in Aries. So the only way to do this is to observe and make note of it. The Mazzaroth is mentioned in Job 38:32, and this is God's clock. Okay, the constellations, the universe, how God created the night sky. Now, the problem begins that the Aries constellation is visible right with the moon between March 21st to April 19th. Libra season for the Feast of Trumpets point in time is visible, and I put a new moon there, is visible between September 23rd and October 22nd. And because of this, there is a difference in days in the year. Matching the solar calendar with the lunar calendar, there's a difference between how many days there are between the constellation of Aries, when the new moon is sighted, Pisces or Aries, and new moon is sighted, all the way to Libra, which is between Virgo and Libra. Sometimes the new moon comes up at the beginning of, so it bounces back and forth. That's what I'm trying to say. This makes it that, for example, in 2023, I did a calculation, we had 208 days in 2023 between these 2 points in time. All right. In 2024, we had 178 days between the 2 points in time when the new moon was sighted in Aries, all the way up to when the new moon was sighted in Libra. And in 2025, we had counted from being sighted the new moon in Aries this year, all the way to when it was sighted in Libra, was 207 days. Next, what it means is that on an average, there are 186 days between Aries signs in the zodiac and the Libra. And it shifts. Either way, the month when the new moon comes up, wherever it is, wherever the new moon comes into Aries, either in Pisces or Aries, counting all the way to Libra, makes the new moon in Libra the 7th month. All right? So don't worry about the calendars. Don't worry about the Feast of Trumpets was like on the civic calendar, the Hebrew civic calendar, what the Gregorian calendar says, what the Julian calendar says. Forget all that. Pretend we're at the beginning of time in 4000 BC, barely coming out of a cave, if that was the case. And we are looking outside and we're looking up in the sky and we say, oh, look, the new moon. Oh, and all the animals are starting to have babies and everything starts blooming and growing. Ooh, must be springtime. It didn't matter if it would snow or rain or whatnot. That would be the sign that, oh, look, the new moon is back in the same constellation, the Aries. All right? Now, this means that our new moon will be sighted again in the beginning between Pisces and somewhere in March, April, and the seventh moon, all right, and the seventh month will be between September and October. Now, it doesn't matter what you call the months. When you see your new moon, the first time when it goes to the top of Aries or whatever it shines against the background, it doesn't matter what you call the month, okay? You can call it flower if you want. You can call it March. You can call it whatever. You can call it in December. It does not matter. You attribute a symbol, a term, a label to it, and it doesn't matter what that label means. It will mean the same thing because in any other language, because it refers back to the night sky calendar, the Mazzaroth. That is the Mazzaroth. So that ties in, this ties in all the calendars, and this is why November 1st, 2nd is the true Feast of Trumpets on a Jubilee year on the 10th day when the trumpets will be sound. Now, let's back up. Let's pretend we don't, again, I don't know what this means. Let's make it even simpler than this. We know that there is a difference between lunar solar year with 11 days difference, okay? That's all what's important. Pretend we have a big clock, all right? Let's think of our own calendar now, right? The January, February, when we have the new year, right? In 2025, when we started our new year, we had the new year celebrate in January. So we have the big clock, that's the one in red where I put on these big gears. So we have number 1, January, right? February is 2, 3 is March, 4 April, 5 May, 6 June, 7 July, 8 August, September 9, right? October is the 10th month, November the 11th month, December the 12th month. That's the big gear, all right? That sits right there and you cannot touch it. No man can touch it because it's up in the sky and there is no way to move a constellation, all right? That is for us. God put it up in the heavens for us to see it and refer back to it. But the question is, how would you refer back to it? So this is what happened. What happened? Now let's put the clock on top of the gear and we want to match number 1, right? Our 12-hour clock. We want to match number 1 with the month number 1 on the gear. So what do? Okay? We are going to turn the clock and match at 12 with 12, 1 with 1, right? So now we have all the numbers on the clock, matching all the months, how we up in the Western culture call these months, all right? Maybe somebody else in the Amazon jungle, they could call these something different. It truly does not matter what you call it. That's the most important thing. What the most part is that it's numbered. It's the first month, second month, third month, all right? So it does not matter. If you meet with somebody else from, you name it, from an island that never saw a calendar or they have their own language, they will tell you that number 1 is something else in a gibberish word. Who knows? It does not matter. What matters is that you and I will know that when we see a specific point in time in a constellation, we count that as number 1. So us in the Western culture, we count from the Roman calendars going up. Actually, it comes from the Babylonian calendars. The Roman calendar starts in January. But the truth of the matter is that ancient cultures used not January because that's a defective way of counting the first month. The first month is not in the middle of the winter when everything is frozen. Nothing grows. You're not doing anything outside. So there is no logic to it to count it as number one. Do you see what I mean? That is a calendar for us people who live in apartments and use cars, and we are removed completely from nature. But if you go back to agricultural times, number one, first month would not be January, because nature does not work that way. Nature is dead frozen in the middle of the winter. What happens is that we need to count as the first. We got to look and align our clock with the number, the first month when the spring blossoms starts to blossom, and that is Aries in the constellation on the Mazzaroth calendar, okay, in the sky as God put it, with the constellation, the lights in the sky, and the stars, and the moon and the sun. So let's now align our clock. So look at this again, the difference. We had one for January, but now pretend we're not in the Western culture anymore. We moved back in time in the old times, right? In the 4000 BC or 3000 BC. We don't have phones, we don't have calendars, we have nothing printed. We're looking outside the window. We go outside the cave and we see what's out there and we count. So we're going to align our clock now with the correct month, would be, which is Aries, the constellation of Aries. Right? So we align the clock number first hour with number one. The question then comes, what happens though when we keep, now we add some symbols to the first month, second month, so to that sky calendar, but when we add the days in between, it's not always the same. As you saw, even in a half a year, there's a difference between either 207 days or 180 days, okay? That's a difference of 30 days. That's a big difference. So this means that a lunar year, for example, if you count just by the moon, so just by the sighting of the moon, is 354 days. If you count by the solar year, 364 or 65, making an 11 days difference in a year. So what did humans do? What did man do? And removing himself from God's universal clock, by doing that, by removing himself from God's clock, they allowed Satan to move in and create a bunch of nonsense to confuse the body of Christ. And here is what happened. Suddenly, even in our Gregorian calendar, each February, we have 28 days. But oh, wait, once in a while we have 29 days. So we have 1 day extra. We have 1 day extra. And then you keep adding. And then once in a while you have to adjust the calendar, right? You have to, we got to do a leap year because we have to catch up with our correct sign in the sky, with the Mazzaroth clock. So all the calendars once in a while add a leap month to catch up with the signs in the sky, with the constellations. And which one was that one? That was actually the one that was sighted between March and April, Aries constellation. Well, what happens though with that 1 day? The question is, what do you do with that 1 day? Where would you put it? If you want to keep your calendar the same, it's impossible. Once in a while, you have to wedge it in somewhere, that 1 day in our normal Western calendar. So you have one day. But what do you do though? Right? So you have that 1 day inserted there. And then what happens to March, between February and March? Well, March kind of moves over. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, we have somebody in here, 1 day extra. So once in a while, the alarm clock rings and says, oops, time to add an extra day. All right, everybody shall do just that, right? And humans being removed more and more from the natural universal sky clock are just going with the flow, because there have been less and less, they've been removed. Our power has been removed from us, from the keeping time. We're being told what to do. We have, same way, we have spring forward, daylight savings. What do? Well, you spring forward, everybody moves their clocks on one day forward. Fall comes, we fall back 1 hour, all right? Daylight savings again, or back to normal. And is anybody complaining? Yeah, we all complain, but we still have to do it, because there's somebody out there who holds the power over the time calendars and who keeps track of time as a universal standard, and we just follow these orders. Well, this is where all gets messed up, because what happens if we have 1 day now that we add in? Just stay simple, okay? We all know what we have to do. Every month, every February, every so often, we add an extra day. We have a 29th day. And the people who have been born at the 29th day in February are like, oh, well, I guess next year I will not have a birthday. Does it mean that they don't exist? Do you see how this is all an artificial concept, removed from the sky clock, from the real Mazzaroth, from God's time clock? So we can also say, instead of saying, oh, well, we moved over into March, we can also say, well, okay, we have, this means when we have the extra day, we can have February 1, the first 28 days, and then I guess that extra day, we can also call it February 2, right? Right here, because what are you going to do with that extra day? You got to call it something, right? So we're going to say, okay, February 2. Pretend with me, stay with me and get along with me, play along. So this all has a point. Now, what is going to happen when we have, I move over, right? What happens though if you just go only by the lunar calendar? Now you have 11 days between, so there's a lagging between the lunar, how the lunar rotates, how we rotate, how we keep track by the moon, and how we keep track by the sun. So doing that, so let's say they start with the moon, following the moon, right, as in the sky clock. It also means that you could say that February, the 2nd February, not the second day, but the February 1 month and the February 2nd month. You could call that whatever you want. You can call it your pet if you want. You can call it your puppy. Here's my puppy. I have a 2nd February in February. Okay, it's okay. It doesn't matter what you call it. That's what's the most important part. It doesn't matter. This whole artificial man-made construct, an artificial way of labeling things. But what are you going to do with those 11 days? So that, well, if you didn't add it this year, the 11 days, by just following the moon, the next year you're going to have 22 days. The third year you're going to have 33 days. You already, in 3 years, you're very short, and you have this like extra fluff of days around. Well, in 2025, so the Hebrew calendar, the Torah calendar says, oh, you know what? We have figured this out. Every 3 years, we're going to have a 30-day long month, extra month added. And they call it Adar. Like, pretend that's our 2nd February, okay? Our 2nd month, February. They call it, well, Adar 1, Adar 2. And suddenly, they have themselves in a pickle, because now their year, when you add that leap month, they call it a leap month, that year on the Torah calendar is called a pregnant month, all right? It's a pregnant month. It's an a pregnant year. It's an enlarged year, and you have 30 days extra. Well, by the time you count all the days in the year, you get yourself in a real pickle, because now instead of having 354 days on a lunar calendar, now you have 384 days every so often. Okay, how every so often we have a 29 days in February. Oh, I mean, if you would give me how to do it, I'll probably do it completely different. I would say, oh no, I have a little puppy there that's going to be sitting. I'm going to call it my own puppy or my own kitty. Doesn't matter what you call it. So what do you do with those 384 days? How are you going to spread them on the same clock? Well, here we go. We're inserting, let's pretend we're inserting one day somewhere between February and March. But that effectively shifts the entire count of all the days and months in the gear. You have to put them somewhere. The gear will not work unless you rearrange it, okay? Unless you readjust the gears. So when you add Adar 1 and Adar 2, now you have that month with 59 days, remember? It is time to do every so often is that, oops, we gotta go back and add these extra days. We effectively are shifting all the days. So now February, for example, will have 60 days, for example. Their Adar, the 12th month, will have 6 or 59 days. So all the days on the calendar gotta go somewhere, folks. It gotta go somewhere. You can't just leave a day behind. You gotta shift the entire clock over, right? Exactly how we shift our clocks forward in spring forward, or how we move it backwards in the fall. And everybody does it because what? It gotta be done. So then the question is, well, where will be Nisan? Nisan is the first month on the Hebrew calendar, just like our March or April would be. Where would poor Nisan get in? Where would you insert it? Okay, that's a valid question. Where would you put your 13th leap month for 384 days in a year? Okay, once in a while, you got to do that. So, poor Nisan, the one that is supposed to be the first month, says, well, I guess I have no choice now. I got to move over. I got to walk myself over to the next point in time. Imagine you have a ticket to a movie theater. You got your ticket, seat 1, or okay, seat 12. Okay, you got it. You take your ticket. You're entitled, and you have the right to go in because you belong to the movie. So yes, you go there, and when you go to your seat, that seat is taken by somebody else who also has a ticket saying, well, you have an extra. In this movie theater, one seat got sold twice. All right, so that February, March is taken. So you now, where would you sit? You have the right to be in the movie theater, watch the movie, but where will you be sitting? Because you can't sit in seat 1. Well, folks, you gotta move over. You're going to sit in the next seat. If you have seat 12, you're going to go to seat 13. And this is how everything shifts when we have a leap month. All right, let's say seat 12 got sold twice in your theater at the movie theaters. You got there, the seat is taken by somebody else. Once in a while, every 3 years or so, they are selling the seat 12 in a row, whatever, 1 or 2 or 30. They sell it twice. And people are like, wait, well, now where am I going to sit if this seat is taken? And everybody says, sorry, we just do this once in a while. You didn't know? Move over, friends. So Nisan takes a hike. right? Instead of being starting in March, Nissan, poor Nissan, the first month, our spring month, says, well, I guess I have no choice than to go look for my sun in the sky in April. Because remember, there's that 30 days difference when the new moon is sighted in the sky against the background of Aries. So it can be in March or can be in April. But we keep still in mind that we were looking at the sky clock. So it doesn't matter what we call this month. We call it April. Other people call it Nisan. We can call it March when it starts in March. That'll be our first month in springtime. Well, Nisan can be also called against the sky clock also in March. So it really doesn't matter. What happens though is that everything, wherever the Nissan starts, the first month, everything shifts over 30 days. Between 30 days, it can be 7 days this year, shifting over. Next year can be like more 10 days. The maximum is 30 days shifting over on the sky clock. So if we added a 13 month, right, that leap month, right, our leap month, it shifts everything over. But this also means that your first month, as you see here, if our first month started in March, second month will be in April, third month in May, 4th June, 5th July, 6th August, 7th September, right? How Brother Joshua's message from Jesus was. October the 8th, November 9th, December 10th, 11th, January, I guess February is going to be the 12th, if we start in springtime. But because we shifted over, everything shifts over now. So if we had Nisan in March, you would have Feast of Trumpets in September and Shemini Atzeret in October, right? 10 days right after. So yeah, the 8th day would fall in October, which on the calendars we just saw, on the civic calendar or the Torah civic calendar, you saw that happening. This is right, because they don't want to confuse everybody. They know, and Satan knows, they got all messed up and entangled. But no, they're not going to put an addendum to their mess. All right, that's what they don't do, right? They didn't mess, and everybody's the enemy, the false light, the false whatever this is. They're like, I confused a lot of people. They win. They lost. We lost out of the 10 bridesmaids, the 10 virgins with the lamp oils. 5 are gone, folks. 5 have renounced their faith. They are mockers and scoffers. Because if we know, and if we look at the fact that in 2025, we had a 13-month added, and you can see it in the Torah calendar, a 30 days calendar was added. Well, that means that the entire, let me see if it did here. Okay. The entire months are moving over 1 month. So the first month now, if you added 30 days between February and March, your entire calendar shifts over. So it makes now first month, remember, you can call it whatever you want. It does not matter. You meet with somebody in Amazon jungle, they call it tutu, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't matter what it is. The most important part that is aligns with the constellation, but it shifts. Sometimes it starts at the beginning, at the head of the Aries, sometimes it starts at the tail of it, right? That 30 days that shifts back and forth. And with this, if we had the first month on the gear in April, Nissan, first month, it makes May the second month, 3rd of June, 4th month is July, 5th month is August, 6th month is September. Hence, Brother Joshua's message did not happen yet because it was not right with the God's calendar in the sky calendar, with the Mazzaroth calendar. October becomes the 7th month, and we did have that. If you check on the Torah calendar, October 23rd and 24th were the true Feast of Trumpets in the Torah calendar, not on the civic calendar. But it doesn't matter, all right? The most important part, I understand that this is the big clock with the gears, and it just moved one gear over. Counting 2025 being a Jubilee year, as Jonathan Kahn expressed right after the Trump's peace deal on October 13. So nobody would have known that. Why it's extra 10 days when the Feast of Trumpets is to be called on November the 1st. Nobody knew that except God. When God told Brother Joshua on September the 23rd and 24th, meaning on the 7th month, 23rd and 24th, in the 7th month, I'll come. But on the true Feast of Trumpets, but the Feast of Trumpets, October 13, moved it over another 10 days because in a Jubilee year, the trumps are being blown on the 10th day. So we only knew this on October the 13th when the peace deal was signed, and it was so prophetic that it was all over the news. And it was even saying, everybody was saying, this is such a big covenant, so to speak, that has not been done in 3,000 years. Well, that is prophetic, folks. Let me see. So therefore, this is why we are looking on the Mazzaroth clock in 2025, on a Jubilee year. We are looking, when we had the 13th leap month inserted, making the year pregnant, enlarged, so to speak. Enlarged with what? Enlarged with 30 days. And bringing us through the true Feast of Trumpets on November the 1st, on the Ashemini Atzerat, will be the 8th day, on the 10th day. On the 10th day when the trumpets would be blown. So this means, brothers and sisters, that we are still on the timeline that has been given to Brother Joshua. Please use this message to be encouraged. Put your armor, your body armor of God. Clothe yourself in linen. Put your prayers on. Encourage your brothers and sisters, and to get on the ark, because we are running out of the universal clock time. We're running out of time on God's clock. And if you look at the news, please check all my other videos that they are being that I've done yesterday and the day before, with how the news is. It is accumulating and funneling towards one day. And I know that as brothers and sisters, we're looking at a very rapture alert between October 31st, November 1st, November 2nd. What would happen? We don't know. We can only hope and pray. Only God knows what will happen. But there are so many mileposts that are pointing to the exact time frame we are in. So please like and subscribe if you like what you hear, if you truly enjoy, and this lights up your spirit and warms up your heart and gives you a good, it gives you food for thought. Please like, please comment. Let me know what you think in the comments, and subscribe and share this message. I hope you are being blessed. And I'm Deanna from LightWarriorsRising. Uh, if I don't see you until next time, we'll see you up in the clouds, brothers and sisters. I love you all.